Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special video today with Kryix. My name is Ben. I am joined by CeeBee, TinyShiny, and Door for our Calling All Heroes Championship preview. This upcoming tournament is the finale to an entire year-long circuit. We have been waiting for this for months, and this is where it all comes to a head. How's everybody feeling?
It's about time. I mean,
Oh
God,
yeah.
Timeless Ethereal has racked up 5 digits worth of points. I figured once they cracked 10,000, it's not like there was a set date. It was like when someone cracked 10,000, I thought they just started, but we had to wait a little longer, you
They
know?
just that's just when they open the Ark of the
At some point,
Covenant.
they're like, fine, we'll do it, you know?
I
But
I'm
before
excited for it. Like I like done a lot of work like prepping for this and seeing what's cooking, and like a lot of teams are getting kind of Heisenbergian with it right about now. So I'm I'm into it. It's champs go big or go home. Like they're gonna go big.
yeah, they better. So we need to, before we talk about champs, we got to talk about what happened last week, or I guess almost 2 weeks ago when this goes live, which was LCQ. So, all three of you were watching the action. Let's start with Door. What was something that kind of surprised you about LCQ? And for those of you who are kind of uh, unaware, the three teams that qualified from LCQ were Kunoichi, Vancouver Titans Blue, and Inarizaki x Tengoku. And we'll be going into some of those in a little more detail in just a bit.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think the obvious standout's Kunoichi, but I'll let Tiny and Cassie kind of get into that in a little bit because y'all were paying more attention on the final day than I was. But I was broadcasting the first 2 days, and all I saw was like Inarizaki on the
Mm-hmm.
warpath. So that to see them not make it was really wild considering the inform nature that I saw from them. And I think it is simultaneously a showing of like, okay, well, what the hell happened on that last day? Everything got flipped on its head. And on top of that, I think Kunoichi kind of realizing the same thing that Inarizaki did earlier on, in that there isn't really a defined meta. I think trying to say that any team has discovered what that is kind of like insane at this point, and playing to your strengths, even if that means like, okay, we'll play meta, but we'll change one of the picks in the team to be something we're more suited for, or we're going to change this about it, or we want to play just another composition that's still good, but maybe not the top meta composition to suit ourselves better, is a really valuable thing that Kunoichi maybe picked up on that last day that really flipped everything on its head.
Mm-hmm. I think that definitely applies for like an LCQ kind of situation where like most of the landscape, because the top teams have already qualified. You're not going right up against the Timeless Ethereal, who's going to be able to like physically dissect you and whatever you try to do. So you can just come out with like strong hero picks, like things that you're good at, and make it work. I think everyone's surprised to see how well it worked on the day of, and I think even they were surprised based on the interviews we did with them. But like, yeah, at that level, like you can get away with it.
I mean, I have kind of the opposite opinion. I think the meta is just not completely fluid, but I think when you're talking about like tier two and stuff, it's always really hard to have a tier two tournament before a tier one tournament because you talk about like trickle down meta, right? The Overwatch League has like analysts and this and that, and people devoted to like hours and hours of scrims where it's like just meta experimentation, and these people have to be preparing for a tournament, right? Like they don't have time to like or necessarily the resources to just like chuck at like puzzling out a meta or like trying everything. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think what we kind of fall into is like, okay, we know what is strong. Obviously, like things like the Ramatra comp are strong, right? Is it hard meta? Not 100% sure. Again, nobody has like the resources to figure out whether there's something that could break it. And so that leaves us to like, okay, we play what we know is strong and we play what we're comfortable with from the past that we know of. And so a lot of that is the Ramatra composition, but it's in such a fluid state because nobody 100% knows on current patches with, like I said, the
Yeah.
the resources being as they are, that there's room to bring in stuff like more personalized picks. And I think things like Jotes is not out of the question coming into the major. And I think on top of that, things like what Kunoichi are bringing in, yeah, it's probably a little bit out there for what you might expect, but I would expect more teams to be experimenting in the major than you would otherwise, especially following LCQ and teams realizing that, hey, there are other ways to succeed in this meta. This is not a solved meta uh, in any sort of the phrase, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Calling All Heroes competition as a whole really has never conformed to one meta, even when you had T1 gameplay to go off of. There's been a lot of points where there will just be one or two hero picks that might be interchanged based on somebody's comfort, which is totally fine. Kunoichi take that to a new extreme, yes, but other squads like Inarizaki x Tengoku and, of course, Vancouver Titans Blue, they can play that a little bit more comfortably, sticking like to that Ramacha comp, the JQ, maybe swapping in the Mei or the Genji. We saw a lot between Phone and Mickman switching.
As long
in
as
and
we don't
out
get that
of
Reaper back, I'm happy.
True, that was a
Reaper
little rough.
awful.
I was not a
Reaper
fan
was really
of that.
bad.
So
Might
speaking
be a
of
little bit of Reaper coming down the pipe for some teams, but we'll get to that later.
so speaking of, just to like outline what Kunoichi played that we're talking about. They played on a number of maps: Tracer, Pharah, Wrecking Ball, Lucio-Mercy. And again, just outlining, the reason that they did this is because their support line is SK Skiesti. And definitely playing to their strengths, especially Skiesti's, but also SK, although she did also play some Ana, and actually looked pretty nasty playing the Ana, especially on King's Row. So what do you think is the... So I want to ask, what do you think specifically... I want to hear from CeeBee on this. What do you think is the potential of this Lucio-Mercy backline against better teams, right?
I don't know that it's gonna go too far in the bracket, to be completely honest, because the biggest weakness that I can see is if like you get a pick and Skiesti can res it, that's the value of the composition. But if you either kill Skiesti or you get two picks, suddenly she has to choose. But like you're taking away a lot of your power to like drive the chaos, when you've already lost somebody, and then you're gonna have one of your healers split off to try and make that res happen. That's a window that I think a lot of these more coordinated teams are going to be able to capitalize on. Like they're not going to just let Kunoichi get away with playing their game the whole time if they can help it. And I already know that like some of these teams are prepping for it as well. Like they saw what Kunoichi were playing, and if they roll up to the dance with that again, teams like Timeless, teams like Michael Wave, like they're already kind of trying to prep for ways that they can realistically try and counter it. So it caught a lot of people off guard, but I don't know if it's going to continue down that path.
Yeah, it's good for a day for sure. How much longer, we'll see. But again, I'm always like, I talk about it on broadcast about like pulling the big red emergency lever. And I'm gonna be honest, in Kunoichi's case, you're pulling that lever like pretty quick. Look, SK's Ana was like solid, but what are you gonna rock up in like Ana 1v1 like Cal? You're gonna go Kiri for Kiri, band for band against like one of the best flex supports in Calling All Heroes, with people that are more used to having more individual hero pools. Like, I think that's a team that needs to play to their strengths, and I'm glad they can. Other teams preparing for it makes it a bit more tricky. But I think if they're going to get through this, that's kind of the only way,
And like, even to jump on it from more of a macro perspective, the reason that composition works largely in part to that Lucio-Mercy is because it's fast, it's chaotic, it is very difficult for teams to pin one person down, and it forces them to change their game plan. They're confused, they're running around with like chicken without heads, and there's nothing really that can happen. When you're looking at teams like, of course, Timeless Celestial, they're going to be a little bit more level-headed when it comes to those things. They're going to know how to handle it, and Kunoichi, they did show some levels of flexibility at the end when they were eventually forced off various compositions. But again, you bring up the point, when you're looking at the level of talent on other teams, does it really match up against that playstyle?
Yeah. So speaking of, I want to give a quick bit of attention to one specific player from LCQ that really caught my eye, and that was Persona from Inarizaki x Tengoku. And this was a player that I had seen in World Cup for Team Peru. So Dor, what did you think? Like, do you think Persona can like be a difference maker for Inarizaki in this tournament, especially on Sojourn? Because like, wow, their Sojourn is nasty.
I felt like their Sojourn was nasty, but in particular, what what I felt the strength was of Inarizaki through the entire tournament was their lightning fast decision making. Was it right all the time? No. Was it like the cleanest all the time? Was their ult management perfect? No. But what they came in and did was played at just like balls to the wall pace against whoever they came up against. If you watch, I think the best indication of this was like their matchup up against Titans Blue in the upper bracket final. The first fight of that map, I mean, it looked like Titans Blue just got their like head spun off. Like it just unscrewed and went flying because of how fast Inarizaki came at them. And they'll come at them, they'll come blazing into a fight, look for a small air, and then immediately jump on that player. And it's the collapse of 5 players onto one because they're playing this, they've got their angles, they're playing with a Sojourn, they're doing this, that, and the other, right? And so for me, the difference is Persona's doing very well as a Sojourn to kind of collapse with that team, but it is all 5 members collapsing and very quickly identifying targets for me. That is the big difference maker for them. The question for me now is, okay, is that something that's going to be as consistent against these larger teams that don't make as many mistakes? That when you run at them that fast, they're not going to flinch. They're not going to give you that opportunity, and you might need to be a bit more patient. They showed us some development in that in the second day or so, but it needs to be shown still up against tougher and tougher teams that are going to be even better at disengaging their ultimates and their proactive play than Titans Blue were, say.
Yeah,
the pace that they play at, by the way, is kind of crazy for a team that's only been together for like a handful of tournaments compared to like the rest of the field, where it's like most of these guys have all been together in some way, shape, or form since like the dawn of CAH. But like Inarizaki, like have only really been on people's radar since Minor 3. And like between that and Major 3, they made like pretty big strides.
Yeah, I mean, it is night and day. And I also think it's a different mentality. Like a lot of teams come in, and it's like, okay, we're going to do clean play, and it's going to be like super clean, and we're going to ramp it up, but we're going to make sure it's clean the entire time. And Inarizaki just, screw this, man. I mean, it's pace, and then we'll work on getting everything right. And the pace catches enough people off guard that like they're able to go on crazy runs like they did. And I think the cleanliness is getting there, and they're learning. And I think LCQ was an awesome opportunity for them to kind of walk their way up the ladder as well, playing against better and better teams at actually dealing with that pace. Like we saw Vancouver Titans Blue in that upper bracket final adjust to them and figure it out by that final map on how to kind of match them. But that wasn't to say that Inarizaki didn't adapt in their own right and figure out how to play fast still, but know when to hold back. And I think that LCQ was a great learning opportunity for them in being able to play that fast style even cleaner, and I hope they take those lessons into the major.
Yeah, I think it's also worth noting that I believe they retooled or like swapped out their support line between Major 3 and LCQ, I think.
Don't they have like a 4-person support line technically still?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they might have swapped it, but
I think they're
yeah.
No, just saying like I think they did make some roster changes as well. Which and we can
I did see a lot of it from, oh god, who was their Lucio player? Somebody help me out. Their Lucio player was paired up with Persona and was one of the major reasons why they were able to collapse as fast as they were. I definitely keep an eye on them. Sorry, the name's eluding me right now.
Macabre.
Macabre. Yeah.
Macabre, yeah, there we go. Yeah. Like, and that's kind of
they were great.
I enjoyed
watching them play quite a bit.
You know what?
That's the bird from the Hunger Games, right? The Macabre.
Yeah, exactly. I did that on the cast. If you watch this, I'm very sorry. I promise I will get it right come championships. Promise.
Macabre also sounds like a Pokemon kind of, no?
Honestly, I wonder if it is a Pokemon. We'll have to.
Mudbray. Mudbray is a Pokemon.
I was thinking Murkrow.
Murkrow Mudbray fusion.
Is it? Maybe.
Some Pokemon Infinite Fusion.
Hey, if we ever get them in an interview, we know what we're asking.
Yeah, no, Macabre was like a great player and was doing that like that Lucio Sojourn split. And that's what a lot of teams, like especially the better teams, are trying to make happen whenever they can get away with that. Like using the Lucio to set up the Sojourn on the off angles and controlling the map like that.
Which is why Persona shine.
Again, like there's like details with it that are like so like weird to grasp. That I think like some players are just like naturally better at, or whether they're like intentionally doing it or not. Like it's off on the off angle, but the pace at which they can return to the team to do that when they have located a target, say on the other side of the map from the Sojourn, and Macabre's ability to rotate the Sojourn and themselves quickly and effectively to the rest of the team, super sick.
You know, I remember, I think Vancouver Titans Blue and Major 3 were doing that with Lucio in their May, which this was something that CeeBee actually pointed out to me before that tournament, and then I saw them do it, and they actually were able to use it to counter dive comps. It was, and I don't know how viable the May is right now. We're going to get into the meta in a second, but
that was something that I like talked with Vancouver Titans Blue about, and even like with some of the players from Michael Wave, just to kind of like gauge like why that is, and like why the like what role does the May even play in this composition against the die. You just split the Lucio off and keep the Genji from ever being able to follow up on anything Doomfist does, and then that's how you beat that composition. Not that we'll see that composition again, most likely, but hey, you never know. Michael Wave could always pull that kind of thing
the May
out,
or the Doomfist.
The Doomfist.
Yeah.
We're going to see May. I promise you that much.
Woo! I love May. No. So speaking of meta, CeeBee, give us the forecast. What can we expect from at least like the majority of teams?
So Dora already kind of alluded to like the two major options that are floating around right now. One being the Ramatra comp. A lot of teams are kind of hard sticking to like Ramatra, May, Sojourn, Bap, Lucio.
Okay.
Kind of, the standard Ramatra brawl composition. And I think in that composition, May is like critical, perhaps like the most important hero.
As long as it's not the Moira version of that comp.
There are some teams also experimenting with the Moira version of
that comp.
I'm not gonna like, air out anyone's dirty laundry, but I've seen a couple teams play that. And I was also watching like Dante Scrim on Twitch, and he was playing against Timeless Obsidian. Not a CAH team, but another one of those like high tier 3, tier 2 teams. They were playing the Moira version, so
Cringe.
That's something that you might see coming out. The other major thing though is, especially on Flashpoint and push maps, I'm seeing a lot of people going with Junker Queen Genji compositions with the Kiriko backline, and they'll split the Genji off with the Lucio to try and control the map that way and set up a pinch on the enemy formation if they can. But
if this Genji thing keeps going, dude, keep an eye out for Kuna. Oh my god.
Oh
my god. You guys were watching Kuna this weekend? Absolutely. What a psychopath. Oh my god. I don't think I saw a single blade that wasn't getting 2 or like extreme value. Never died for it. Like, and outside of that, even in neutral, Kuna was just dominating every single team they went up against on the Genji.
You know what's crazy about Kuna, by the way, too, is like I was watching a scrim. It was Vancouver Titans Blue against Inarizaki, and Kuna was playing Widow on Circuit Royale and just popped a 4K out of nowhere. And I was like,
I love Circuit.
Okay. So this Kuna can just do anything.
It was weird. I think the one thing I would worry about is Kuna's got the Widow. It's like that like skill DPS position, if that makes sense, right? If they talk about like skill positions in football or whatever, it's like the Widow, the Genji, the like flashy play type stuff, right? And Kuna's got a lot of that in their back pocket.
It's the color hex hero pool where it's like flex DPS and Widowmaker for some reason.
But
shout out color hex, by the way, just for no reason.
The flexibility mid-match, because they went from Genji to Widow map to map, and they looked lost for a second. They locked it in, and it got like a lot better, but there was like a weird like warm-up period between the Genji and the Widow, and it was noticeable because, again, Kuna has a good Widow, but it can be really hard to switch back and forth between those two roles and just like flip the hit scan switch in the middle of a match. So that might be some pretty hefty weight to bear should that come to fruition.
Especially like we looked at the match that we saw that went to game 5. It was Vancouver Titans Blue and Inarizaki. It took Kuna a while to get cooking, and VTB, they ran away with that at the beginning. And even at the end, day 3, like Kuna looked amazing. Days 1 and 2 of that LCQ, like I argued that they were almost doing more than Persona was on the Sojourn in a lot of aspects. But then we got to day 3 in that game, once they faced up against Kunoichi, Kuna was rather quiet. We didn't see a whole lot out of them in comparison to days 1 and 2, which was rather shocking. Whether that was maybe like nerves thing, they were having an off day, don't really know, but that wasn't really Kuna in the form that we want to see them in necessarily, especially heading into champs. So I do wonder like if that's something that is going to be an issue for them potentially moving forwards, if they have to worry about consistency.
The one other thing that I'll say though about the meta and like the Junker Queen Genji and the Ramatra is like I think I've seen a couple teams play like these compositions against each other, and I think generally, unless it's a push or a flashpoint map that's going to favor the more fast-moving Junker Queen composition, I think the Ramatra comp wins just because Mei can do both section off the enemy Junker Queen and keep the Genji in check, so you kind of negate both of the potential win conditions with just one hero. Like, I think Mei is that strong and that important in the current sandbox.
So as we're looking at this tank meta, Ramatra, Junker Queen, that brings to mind for me a specific tank player who really excels at those heroes. And I'm looking at her as kind of one of the big impact players of this tournament. Do you think that is this like the perfect tank meta for Kindred, basically?
I'm gonna be honest. It's been a minute since I've seen a tank meta that Kindred hasn't looked good in.
Yeah.
True.
I think
Yeah.
Kindred just got kind of sick with it. Like,
Yeah.
Ideally, Kindred would love like a Rhine Junker Queen meta. Like, if we could just have Rhine Junker Queen, like Kindred's just in heaven, right? Like Ramatra's like, okay, I guess we'll do. But I have been impressed with. I think the big thing is that Kindred has improved a lot on the Ramatra in particular. Kindred's always had the Junker Queen and been one of like the front runners in that regard. But their Ramatra over the past 2 tournaments that I've seen them in has improved significantly. And so I think they have hit their stride with it. And I think Major 3 was like a really awesome way of showing that off. And I hope it just can maintain that quality coming into champs, because I know it's going to take quite a bit of comfortability to take the initial blows of teams kind of coming out with weirder and weirder stuff, especially against a team the quality of that which Kindred is on, because teams are more likely to bring out weird stuff against you because they know they can't beat you at the meta.
I don't want to square up against Kindred if
no
in a
thanks.
meta where Junker Queen's strong. Like, no, thank you. Like,
Yeah.
there's very few tanks in CAH that I would trust to take that matchup.
No, I like that's the thing is there's a lot of individuals that are great at Junker Queen or great at Ramatra, but the fact that Kindred has this wrap around both, like that's got to be terrifying for a lot of teams, especially with that tank being a lot of that centric map control that you're looking for. So like in those meta battles, like it's going to force a lot of people out of their comfort zone, and watching that change was going to be interesting.
CeeBee, you said there weren't many tanks that you would trust to take that matchup. Who do you think has the best shout in that, in like a
Commanding
Junker
shout, like
Queen?
Junker Queen's ability? Yeah.
No, like you will take any opportunity to talk about Junker Queen. No,
Yeah, that's true.
No, I mean the best
No,
the best matchup in a Junker Queen mirror against Kindred.
Mari, easily.
Yeah.
I think Mari is straight up just like the best all around tank in CAH. Like, I think she has improved dramatically over the course of the season, and you know, in the last major, we saw her as one of the front runners that was bringing out the Doomfist and leading the pack with that, forcing some people to adapt, and then flipping the script, playing Winston in there. And over time, her Junker Queen has also gotten really, really good. I know she's been grinding it a lot. Her Ramatra is also solid. I just think that Mari is like one of if not the best tank and definitely most improved player in CAH.
Yeah, easily most improved. And I was gonna go on beyond. Like I literally was going through and making a list of like, okay, if you have Kindred up here at the top, who's going to be up there with their Mari? Easily the second one, but also like players like Sawhill, even, or Sniper aren't nearly that far behind, especially in the JQ for Matra. I haven't seen enough of it to really get a gauge, but the JQ, I can definitely say, like, you're going to be going up to Kindred rather confident, but she still like holds literally just holds the axe above you, and you're at her mercy regardless.
The one tournament that Timeless Ethereal did not win was the one where like Jotes was the hard meta. Like, it was just Junker Queen, and that was NYXL Academy that won that, and Kindred was the one playing Junker Queen for them. So it's like, you know, I don't know about Sniper or Sawhills about their Junker Queen, like for either of them. I know, like, when it comes to pretty much any other tank under the sun, like between the two of them, you have like a really, really robust front line there. But like on Junker Queen, like Kindred and Mari are the front runners for me, and I don't know that there's really anyone that's close to them.
Is Dive just basically dead right now, at least in North America?
Not on Escort.
Okay.
Not
What,
on
are we
Escort.
looking at like Winston or Doom or Gasp Wrecking Ball? No, it's not Wrecking Ball, but
mostly Winston. Not a lot of teams are busting out the Doomfist for it. I think, there's teams that can, but I think I think Winston's just a little bit more easily accessible to a lot of players and to a lot of teams to just play that dive. So, maps that aren't like in the map pool, like Gibraltar or like even Numbani, you'll see dives still. But it's like, I think the only map in the map pool that we might see that on is like Route 66. And even that you can kind of get away with, just going for the brawl.
Right. And I think that kind of comp is where I think Timeless really, or Timeless Ethereal, I should say, can really kind of crush their enemies, So, speaking of Timeless, look, let's all level with each other, right? This tournament is kind of Timeless versus everybody, I think, or Timeless Ethereal versus everybody, I should say. But
little brother Celestial, like me too.
It's Timeless Celestial is like all of the like players that used to be on Timeless Ethereal that like got cycled out for the most part. And we'll definitely talk about them at some point because there is that they do have a very interesting tank line, I think. But so to all three of you, who do you think has the best shot of taking down Timeless?
I mean, okay, so it's like, yeah, it's like circuit points wise, it's everyone versus Timeless, and it's been that way kind of this entire time. But looking at it, like Major 3 teams are starting to really get competitive. WISP is looking like in form. It's a meta that like really does well for their tank line. I think the Timeless Ethereal DPS line is still extremely hard to deal with, as well as their support line. It's like, it's not somebody you're ever gonna gap, right? But
they also added
if you catch
X10
them
by
out,
the way
like,
to that DPS line.
Yeah.
Which is unfair. Like, they shouldn't be able to get away with just taking.
That's not fair.
They already had Wisps. They didn't need to get X10 too, but they did.
We need to redistribute the means of hit scan.
So I don't think it ever happens through like those avenues, but again, like I think Sawhill and Sniper, which is funny because I look at like the tank lineups, and the two that stand out to me in particular are Kindred and Alasu and Sawhill and Sniper in terms of like duo power. So say we've got a meta that like everything's being played, right? The two tank groups that I would want would be Sawhill and Sniper and Kindred and Alasu. They just kind of like go right together, just how you want them to, except the singular gap in that Sawhill Sniper duo is the Junker Queen. Do I think it's going to be enough to like topple a tournament for them? No, but do I think it levels the playing field enough that Wisp are like really competing? Absolutely. Wisp look amazing. It's H-Key in a potential Genji meta, which would be, I mean, a treat to see. I remember like old school, like years ago, H-Key Genji when they were breaking into the scene. Like it was a dream to watch. So if they get some star power popping off like that on the day, I think it's absolutely within range. This is not the gap that it necessarily was, and if Timeless want to prove me wrong, I'm happy to be proven wrong. I work with them so much, they know I love them, but like there's some real competition here, and the meta is such that there is enough fluidity to cause some upset of the rankings dominance, which we all know tells us everything about who's going to win everything.
Tiny, what do you think?
And here's my thing with it, is the one time that we start to see that Timeless are a little bit different, you bring it up, it's the Junker Queen meta. That's where Kindred's going to shine. We've already talked about that. The DPS line, that's something that you could argue Timeless, I mean, having X10 alone on that roster, joining Wisps, and it's just scary. It's terrifying to look at. I mean, any team, like, how do you match up to that? There's a lot of players that
a DPS line in and of itself.
Yeah,
it basically counts as an extra.
I mean, with Halo,
is Cal playing in this tournament? Or
I don't think so.
Are they just sort of along for the ride?
But they they've got Z-Man and Halo, which is like, it's really that much worse.
Z-Man's map is very good. So
is that different? I don't. Yeah, I think it's still, the equation still works out pretty much the same.
And I think also oh, go on. Yep.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, Wisps still have Anyun, who has been the best, in my opinion, one of the best performing flex supports that we've had within this meta, whether it's been primarily on the Ana, but also Kiriko too. Like, she has been absolutely incredible to watch. And now with her being on this team, you have a little bit of change with Poryu coming in now.
Yeah.
But I mean, with
Poryu
that,
really impressed me in Major 3.
Yeah.
I had never heard of her before, and she played really well. Her Lucy was really good. Her Kiriko was also pretty good. They played like some like Ana Kiriko Winston dive, which I thought they would sub in Aramoya for that, but they had Poryu play the Kiriko, and it looked really, really good. Not sure if they can run that now, because I don't know if LCQ is necessarily going to be playing on ping for this tournament, or if it's basically just going to be Kindred, and I'm not sure how much she plays Winston, but I think
you've got Kindred on tank. There's no reason to play. You just play just
Yeah.
Exactly.
That, you know, well, yeah, when you put it like that,
Lucio, and you press sound barrier at the right time, okay? And it's like that. It makes the port life right now.
Press Q to win.
Really.
I think to be a standout main sport is extremely difficult, and that's not to say we haven't had standout main sports, but
absolutely,
it's tough out here to display hero pool depth.
Yeah, and I think we can. So can we talk about? I feel like can we talk about what the WISP Embers roster is? It seems to be like kind of out there now. Is that like
it's on Wikipedia, so I think it might be fair, but like they still haven't announced it, so I don't want to talk too much about it and like steal the wind out from them.
Like Wednesday, so
yeah.
I actually think we're all right.
So to put it,
you're on the clock.
If it's not.
Yeah.
hello, editor.
For those,
check their Twitter.
So for basically, y'all may have noticed that Radiant tweeted out that Drainers dropped out of the tournament. That's basically because like half of Drainers, the new WISP roster is basically a merging of the previous WISP Embers roster, which itself was the Valiant Rift Guardians roster, basically merging with half of Drainers. So it's like one of WISP's DPS and their backline, and then some of the players from Drainers, most notably Kindred. So that's basically kind of what we're dealing with. There are some players on there that are international that I'm not sure how much they're going to play, notably Par. I don't know how much they'd play over Senna just because of ping, but
it's almost definitely going to be Senna and HK as their front line, just because you need a hit scan, and Senna's a phenomenal hit scan player. She is also on ping though, so like that's kind of a problem where it's like I'm not gonna come out and say like she could diff X10. I think she can hold her own against X10, but like on ping, I don't know.
Yeah. She's done well on ping in every tournament that we've had, and I think like, and this is maybe just me talking completely out of my butt, but I feel like Sojourn compared to other hit scans, like I don't know if that's like as ping dependent as like a Cassidy or something, but yeah, so that's the WISP roster that we're talking about. It's basically Drainers plus WISP Embers. So rest in peace, Drainers. We miss you. But that's also why 3 teams qualified from LCQ. So the next thing that we need to talk about, speaking of team names, so Microwave. Cassie, how which this team had a funnier team name originally, but it got shot down by Blizzard, by the Blizzard censors.
Yeah.
You can find it if you look hard enough, I think. But Cassie, so Microwave obviously did really well in the Swiss stage of Major 3, and then kind of came up short in the bracket. Where are they at now? What's their power level at right now, Cassie?
So they're still definitely among the top 3 teams, along with Embers and with Ethereal. But Michael Wave currently have like a really, really big problem. That problem is that Zoe is probably the best Genji player in all of Calling All Heroes. But if she swaps over to Mei, she's quiet. And I still feel like I've said a couple times, like I think Mei is just the most important hero, especially if you're playing any type of Ramatra composition. If you're playing against a Junker Queen composition and you're not mirroring that, or you don't want to get caught out by a Ramatra, like you need to have a decent Mei on your team. And that's kind of why, like, even back to the previous segment, like I feel like Timeless Ethereal has Bun, who is just the best Mei in Calling All Heroes, and there's no one close to her. So if they win the whole tournament, it will be because of it'll be not just take anything away from anybody else, but it'll be because of Bun.
I'll back that point. I was gonna bring it up, but like having a decent Mei, we ran across this problem in contenders a lot too, where it was like you either had the Mei player, or you didn't have the Mei player, and like a Mei player is not a flex DPS player. A Mei player is a Mei. Like it's a completely different hero to anything else you play, and the mechanical and organizational and communication requirements for playing it are entirely different from like any other flex DPS that you might try to offer up. And having that Mei player, it takes a lot of time to like forge them in the fires. It's going to take them being bad for quite a while before they're also able to get good. So it's an investment, but one that Timeless Ethereal are absolutely raking in the buku bucks on. And I think this might be the tournament where that like truly pays off, because like you said, I'll back that one. I have not seen a Mei outside of Bun that's really impressed me, and I pay quite a bit of attention to it because I've seen it fly under the radar for a long time at contenders. I've watched like Mays get gapped time and time again, and then people will be like, "Oh my god, why is this team losing this issue?" I'm like, "Your Mays getting gapped." Like, yeah, I see they go wall for wall, but it's not, it's not the same.
You're making me miss Speedly's
chance
Mei.
that Bun does that.
Always looking for a chance to chime in with some AT propaganda, ain't you?
Yeah,
I see you.
The glory days.
But like Bun's Mei is like unparalleled, and I think the runner up in all of Calling All Heroes is probably H Key. Zoe lags a fair bit behind. She can absolutely take over an entire lobby with Genji, and we kind of saw that because Michael Wave in the last major were playing their dive compositions where you have the Doomfist and the Genji. The Genji goes in, it's your 1-2 punch kind of deal. But now, like, going up against more Mei players that are going to now try to keep Zoe in check, the Genji's not going to be as viable unless you can build another comp around it that can work. And I don't want to, like, say, like, what answers Michael Wave is arriving at. I will just say that they're trying to find solutions for that. Be that putting her in, like, the hyperbolic time chamber and grinding out her Mei to where it's competitive with the top tier, or trying to find a composition where you can play Genji and not get hard punished for it. That's kind of going to be like that's going to be the biggest pitfall for me. They could pull a Kunoichi, I guess. Hey, Mari, how good is your Wrecking Ball?
She can probably play it. It's Mari.
Honestly, give her a couple weeks. She'll be the best Wrecking Ball in Calling All Heroes. But like,
I do want to shout out Phone in this conversation if we're talking about Mei. I think VT Blues like rush comps looked a bit shakier in LCQ than they did in Major 3, but in Major 3,
everyone's
like, they were drilled, and they looked very well coached, which I know is like hard to say like from an outside perspective, but just the way that they were syncing up with their Mei and their tank, and even just like the way that they've been subbing between their 3 DPS players, it always seems like they sort of know what they're doing. And Phone's Mei is obviously like a keystone to that.
It's still solid, but like
it's not up. I don't think it's that up there.
Like you said, in LCQ, I didn't see it, and I think it's a lot to expect perfection from a Mei, right? But there was definitely a few mistakes in LCQ that were gone about. But by and large, it looked solid enough. And if they hit their stride and they're able to find that top level coordination again to bring it, it's going to be a tool they need.
Yeah. So speaking of kind of focusing more on some individual players here, I'd like for all 3 of you to sort of give a shout out to a player that you think has sort of the most to to prove in this tournament, the most kind of, make or break potential uh, on just like for their team.
I mean, if you're talking about pressure, if if Kunoichi busts her out, I unfortunately
You're not.
I fear for their Twitter lives. Like there's so much pressure being like a public figure like that and competing in anything like this. Like look, they've made it so far and they're playing so well. And if you bust her out, like people are just gonna give you infinite bad for it. And like you don't deserve that. You played your rear off and you've looked good doing it.
Is that pressure, or are they basically playing with house money? I feel like.
Let's be real. It's the esports community. I wish they were playing with house money. They should be playing with house money, but
it's
SK. The second you enter this competition, like people are going to be like, "Oh, how dare you try to play seriously?" And all this like baloney that you absolutely don't deserve. They're playing great. They look good, and while I'm not sure that they're going to win the thing, I do. No matter what result they get, they've done incredibly well. And I hope they do not get any crap for it. Should it not go well?
Definitely beating the laundry machine allegations that nobody in particular.
Yeah, who would post that GIF in Door's general chat in his Discord server? Who would do such a thing, Ben?
Yeah,
I have no idea. Nobody would be that foolish.
I'm happy to see him back too, because like I mean, I think we all remember Kunoichi coming into like all the way back through like
the Dart Monkeys days.
Yeah, Dart Monkeys renditions of the team. Like they looked phenomenal on the initial bits of Calling All Heroes, and I think we can all agree over like every major, the quality of play in Calling All Heroes has kind of increased exponentially, and which has been awesome to see. But it kind of left Kunoichi in the dust, and the fact that they've kind of managed to make that comeback at LCQ, super sick storyline. Whether it actually goes into something or whether they feel like they have something to prove with it, I think that's kind of up to them, you know.
Yeah. I think a lot of credit needs to be given to to both of their DPS, for Barcode for really stepping up on the Tracer in LCQ, and for Essel, who I think this is maybe the second or third tournament they've played with her. But I know that they were sort of kind of trying to fill that flex DPS position that they had a player leave, I think, for some like personal stuff, but they were, needed another flex DPS, and Essel has really, I think, stepped up to that. Not just on the Pharah, but also being able to play like Echo, and there was something else that she played, or a
little bit of Genji Mei in there.
Yeah. I would not expect them to play any Mei comps against these really top teams, because can you play Mercy Ramatra? That just feels wrong.
You can, but it's like, instead of having the Lucio Sojourn split, you have a Mercy Sojourn split, which isn't going to be as mobile, but will do more damage.
Yeah.
And that's going to be great on points like maybe like Midtown defense, point A. But like when you go on the attack, it's going to get a lot harder to get that set up. And that's where I think that's going to struggle.
You'd have SK play what, BAP, I guess?
Yeah, like if you're playing like the closest approximation to the meta, but with Skiesti on the Mercy instead of having a Lucio, then like
There are definitely things that you can do, and I think they've been actually really creative and like kind of playing with, because if you're gonna have a Mercy one trick, Skiesti is really good at Mercy. Like, this needs to be said that like
one of the best, no doubt.
She's like so fucking good at Mercy. And like that's part of what how they're able to make it work, is that she stays alive and is basically able to avoid so much pressure, so that the other kind of sort of angles of attack that they set up are able to basically go off without a hitch, because she's just kind of, bobbing and weaving like like Luke Skywalker in the trench run through all this enemy fire. That was my attempt at sort of doing a CeeBee kind of, slipping in a pop culture reference. Now,
it was noticed and appreciated. But
you did great.
Thank you. I'm learning.
Valiant effort.
Okay.
Tiny, I'll let you answer the question next, because I didn't think about anybody yet, so I still need more time to pull one out of my ass.
And here's the thing. I love Kunoichi, right? I want to be a believer. Understand that. I want to believe in this
Yeah,
team.
they made
For
a
the
fan
sake
out of
of
me
it.
during that LCQ run.
Yeah,
Exactly.
same.
And they already
Exactly.
had like all the fans they needed.
They have
too.
all
Like,
the
they're community
That's what I'm
favorites.
saying. And seeing their run, it was awesome. It was like seriously like one of the best series I've ever casted. Like seeing that just come to light and then getting that ball rolling, and you could see it even in themselves. But at the same time, you guys mentioned it before, as these events have gone on, there are teams that are just improving at such an exponential rate because they have this level of coaching. They're scrimming. Kunoichi, as good as they are individually, as good as their synergy is, they don't have that same level of experience. They literally had one scrim coming into the LCQ today, and like even that was a little bit of a rocky start for them. It took them a while to get that momentum back up. And now we're looking ahead into...
No, I think you got it backwards.
next game.
The one
Yeah?
scrim was the problem. If they had
The one scrim
zero,
was
they
the
just put it
problem?
in upper bracket the entire way.
The less scrims
The
you
fact that
have,
they
the
practice-
better.
Do we
Well,
know
no,
if
no.
they're scrimming for the championship?
They better be.
I-
Like,
I would hope so. Well, also here's the thing, because when we Skiesti, I don't know if you remember this, CeeBee, is when we were talking to Skiesti on the interview, she was saying that what they were running at scrims was some sort of variation of like Zarya, Mercy, Life Weaver. Like, you remember this? Like
What?
that's what they were running in
Yeah.
that scrim.
Sorry.
Clearly they
How
scrapped
the
that.
what the
but-
what?
Yes,
yeah,
that's my Mhm.
I don't like, you know when you're making like pancakes and breakfast and it's like the first pancake is always the ugliest one and it doesn't count. Like that's
Practice
what I'm
pancake.
getting there. Like, yeah, when they're
Yes.
trying to find a way they can play their own game. All right, that pancake sucks. Get that out of here. All right.
What was
Ball
the
Echo
DPS?
or
What was
Star
the
Mercy,
DPS
like,
lane like? Torbjorn Echo? I mean,
You know, you'd have to ask Skiesti.
Jesus.
Maybe we'll see it this weekend.
that's
But-
I actually hope so. That'd be-
Me too.
that'd
Me
be
too.
pretty
I
awesome,
want to see
actually.
that. Just for the sillies. Just for the sillies. But back to the original question though. Of
Yeah,
We're
if
going
you're,
back-
If you're gonna bust her out,
you
bust
know-
her out on the LeSeraphim comp. Come on, just
do it. Honestly.
let's go.
Yeah,
Me and the
yeah.
girlies.
That's
Let's
gonna do
go.
it.
If you're going 0-4, like, do it on a fun comp. No, I don't think they're going 0-4, but
No.
nevertheless.
I'm pretty sure you can
Absolutely.
only make the LeSeraphim comp work in like APAC, unfortunately.
Well, not if your goal isn't to win, then you can make it work wherever you want.
True.
If your
It's
goal
not a
is to
matter
put,
of you can't physically
If-
run.
if-
You can always run
If
it.
your goal is to
My
have
win
fun,
condition
you
is
can
just
run
playing the
Lifeweaver
LeSeraphim
Moira
comp.
with
You don't
Doomfist and
understand.
Torbjorn, but like, you know.
you can do that. Yeah, you can also just put your hand on a hot stove. You shouldn't.
Wait,
You
what?
can do whatever you want. You can roll up. Yeah, bring all the Lifeweaver comps you want to CAH champs. It's not gonna work. No one's gonna stop you.
Are
Well,
any of
I
the
mean,
teams being coached by Rack Attack, perchance? No, Tiny. What? Wait, let's
White
get
boy
back
of the
on
year.
topic.
Back on topic for real. I might be personally a little bit biased because we have the same name. It's got to be Mari for me. I mean, Mari coming into this competition way back at the beginning of Calling All Heroes has been the most improved player. Started out as kind of this mid kind of brought out the Junker Queen, like, all right, this is something we need to keep an eye out for. And then that just kind of kept progressing further until we saw the Doomfist. And she gets on a team such as Michael Wave that they're able to climb up those ranks and grab that qualifying spot. But at the same time, Mari has also been on a team that has struggled to consistently perform like at those very top levels. And a lot of that, I think, stems from her. I think she's still the best player on that team, other than Zoe if she pulls out an insane day on the Genji, which usually happens. Like, Mari is a highlight to put out there. If you're going against the Kindreds of the world, I mean, that's who you're looking at to be able to perform. She's like that. She's the life of that team to live on. It's a lot of pressure, but she's also a player that can perform very well in such circumstances, especially with that experience.
Cassie, have you
I-
decided on your sort of
think,
make
you
or
gotta think.
break pick?
I think I've decided. I've done a little bit of pancake making over here. I think
Pancakes. Please
so. I
share.
think as far as
Did you
like
eat
play,
before this? I ate before this.
I actually it's been. Oh, I ate like 7 hours ago. I
Oh
should
my
probably have
gosh, my
dinner after
dining
this.
hall's gonna close. Oh, that's sad.
Oh,
All right.
Oh, well.
Okay. So player that I think has the most to prove. I've thought on it. I've pondered my orb for a little bit. I think we even alluded to it a little bit earlier. I'm gonna go with Senna.
Okay.
Because I think
Okay.
she, like I said, she's been a really strong hit scan player throughout the entirety of the tournament. But like drainers have been chaotic and at times dysfunctional. Now being in like the NYXL Embers system, it's like you now have a team around you that is going to enable you, that is going to help set you up. You have, you know, someone like Poryu that's going to help you get set up on these angles. You're not only filling X10's shoes, but likely going to have to go against X10. So, you know, I think this is a great opportunity for Senna to prove that she can hang with some of these top hit scan players that we haven't really, like, we haven't talked about her as much as we have, like Wisps or X10 or, you know, anyone else who's been like hoarded up by the timeless ethereal system that just keeps sucking up hit scans like a Hoover vacuum. Like,
Yeah, and Senna's a player who's been like, if you look at any EU tier 2 or tier 3 tournament the last year, she's there. And she's been forged in the fires of, you know, EU flash ops, like EU contenders.
she's
And
like Tiny and I have like casted tournaments with her in the past where she has you know, played in EU tournaments and deadlifted entire teams that were on ping, and she's just the only one that's playing like, you know, with like sub 100 ping, and she just carries with hit scan. Like she's that good, she's that capable. But like, you know, being on ping and playing against the best that Calling All Heroes has to offer, which there is a pretty strong crop of hit scan players, especially pooled towards the top, she kind of has a chance to cement herself as one of those. And I mean, you know, imagining if NYXL Embers were able to topple Timeless Ethereal, like what would that do to the rankings there? Like how would that shake up that conversation? I think it's a great opportunity for Senna. There's a fair amount of pressure on her, but it's also like, you know, she can prove a lot.
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup, which I hope we get to see at some point.
They're both getting first rounded. That's not going to happen. Kunoichi's going to come through, ruin everything.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the bracket, let's get into that. Let me pull this up over here. Okay, so I have it pulled up on my screen.
Can you screenshot it? It's not updated on the Wikipedia. Can you send it in the group?
Yeah. Hold on.
Thank you.
Let me. I need to put like elevator music while I send this on Twitter. But this is just like a bracket screenshot. I use bracket HQ for all of my bracket needs.
Whoa. If they're not paying you, don't say it.
No, honestly, they you know.
I use Chipotle for all my bracket needs.
There we go.
That's better.
Now we're talking.
That's better.
So that's the start. That's the initial bracket, and I'll just sort of walk us through it. So, bracket time. I think we can go through these, well, at least some of these first round matchups pretty quickly. I think everything is first to 3. Starting off with Timeless Ethereal versus Inarizaki x Tengoku. 3-0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
As speedy as Inarizaki are to get set up against a team like Timeless Ethereal, like Inarizaki, they're looking for mistakes. A team as good as them, they're not going to have them blaring it out. It's going to take a while for that to be able to happen. I think there's a potential they take a map, but it's just safer to say 3-0 for me.
I'm actually gonna.
Man, but I really like Inarizaki. Come on, guy.
I'll tell you this. They will have, I think, a very interesting first matchup in the losers bracket. So
I can see Inarizaki making a losers bracket run. I'm sure we'll get to that, but like,
so the next match,
the engine starts or it doesn't. I'm gonna be honest. It's like you're either
it's like starting an old chainsaw.
3 or 4, you know. Is this like we can't be like spinning up the wheels when we hit the ground. We need to have like the wheel spun up and like drop like a Beyblade into the lower bracket, you know, like ready to let that shit rip.
So this is next up we have.
I want the best for this team. They are so entertaining.
Yeah.
I will talk about them endlessly. They were very fun to watch.
Great logo too, by the way, I have to say. Somebody's got to get the Tengoku version of the Inarizaki logo where it's like pink. The fox is pink on Liquipedia. Inarizaki, if you're listening to this, send me the image of your logo. I can get it put on Liquipedia. So next match we have Fable versus Michael Wave. We haven't talked much about Fable so far. Obviously, like, I'm sure we all have amazing things to say about Avery, especially on the Sigma. Unfortunately, I don't know how meta that is right now.
I
Avery's got
think
an okay ram there too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't slouch on anything Avery's bringing to the table. I want to be honest.
Yeah.
I think the main thing you're really scared of here is like your your backline getting removed from the server like in a matter of 2 seconds, and whether Fable have the coordination to deal with a team like Michael Wave who are gonna just bring like chaos to the table, right? And on top of that, whether they have the mechanical ability back there as well, the firepower to like hit back. It's not just like survive the Doomfist. You need to like take somebody for his failed dive, you know?
Yeah.
And I think Fable are going to weather a few blows for sure from Michael Wave, but I don't see them being able to land a solid punch back.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I think like honestly, like the best I would give them is like a 3-1 maybe, and that's like and that's like
3-1
and I think that's
description.
like I think that's if Michael Wave cooks a little too hard.
You read 3-1.
No, sorry, I meant like that's sort of what I read from what you were saying, Dor.
That was private.
Like, wait, you have the script?
Oh, I sent you to that in confidentiality.
Did they not give it to you guys? Oh, as a I can't even pronounce it. I was trying to make a joke. Yeah, they win. But that was mean of me actually. I don't know why I just took a shot at a random team. So 3-1 Michael Wave. Next, okay, this is a fun one. WISP Embers versus Kunoichi CGL.
I'm sorry, Kunoichi.
No, come on.
It's gonna be a quick trip down to the lower bracket.
I think so I think Kunoichi can win a control map, right?
If all 3 of the control maps are Lijiang Garden.
Yeah.
Well, Lijiang Night Market.
Night Market's also good for a pharmacy composition, yeah, but like you know, it's yeah, no, like I think if you just take them to not like it's gonna be like higher seed chooses first map, right? So just don't take them to Lijiang. Yeah. Like take them to Antarctic and you just win. Like 3-0.
Yeah. Tough. I think if there was a team that was going to be able to deal with Kunoichi's play style, it's going to be WISP. Not only do they have like the experience, and that really does matter.
They could mirror it if they really wanted to.
They could, but like,
oh my god, they
what
can.
Matters to me
right.
when you're playing up against a team that's going to like run something weird is experience on a larger stage and also on compositions, and I think WISP have like that in spades in terms of not just knowing how to play a composition in a meta, but knowing what makes a composition tick and being able to adjust it into weirder compositions. And WISP, I mean, they're not even gonna blink at that. Like they have not only that, but also a roster that's like pretty wide in terms of the substitutions they can make should they really need to change things. Yeah, it's a very hard team to derail, and for a team that is been winning in large part due to their ability to derail other teams' strategies, Kunoichi are really going to struggle in this one.
Yeah. It's actually crazy that the bench players on Timeless Ethereal and WISP Embers would be starters.
You could make another
every other one of these teams.
Top 3 team.
Yeah. I mean, like WISP's Par, LCQ, Cal, and Aramori. I mean, like, it's ridiculous. So
it's like it's player capitalism. All the wealth is just pooling towards the top. We got the top 2% of teams, and like
all
the
that
rest
ramen
of us
money
down here in LCQ are like we're struggling. Like a crumb of hit scan, please.
So no maps for Kunoichi.
No.
No.
The idea of they can't know what's happening if we don't either ends here. I mean,
They don't
Wisps,
know
they're
what's-
gonna know.
they can't
I
know
mean,
what's
that's it.
If Kunoichi were able to pick the first map and go to Lijiang, 3-1,
Yeah.
but they don't, so no, it's 3-0.
What
I want to
if
see Wisp pick it for fun.
what if WISP Embers decides to pick their first map via roll of a dice?
Now we're talking.
Yeah, because when I go into the championship tournament where there's a $20,000 prize pool, I'm thinking like, yeah, maybe I should just start RNGing all of my decisions from here on out. Like honestly, like
Yeah.
Is that
You know,
not
I did,
what
I-
Kunoichi has been doing, or?
I
So-
guess.
Watch
But
watch
like
them
Kunoichi
come
was
out
in a
with like
position where like if they didn't win LCQ, they were going home anyway. So it's like YOLO.
watch
like,
Kunoichi roll out with like something just absolute, like something that makes Chengdu look like meta slaves. Like I could just see it, like
They will. They
I'm here
will.
for it.
Coach
Hey, I don't know about
Kobe
this
and
random thing. It's
SK
not too
cooking
bad.
something up.
I predicted an entire season of Chinese contenders matches with dice, and it was I did not lose the caster predictions, despite doing it entirely based off of RNG. So if that tells you anything about
I really
that
feel
tells
like
me a lot about Chinese Overwatch specifically.
yeah,
Like,
I feel like Kunoichi is really
Alright.
playing in the spirit of Chinese Overwatch, or at least like old Chinese Overwatch.
how did Kenobi feel about that?
they're taking second place then. That's, rough times.
Too
I'm sorry,
soon.
Kenobi.
Too soon. Okay.
Too soon. They've been taking second place for the past 5 years.
What else did they get
In
second?
like
I
every
guess Hunters. I
competition
guess.
humanly imaginable. Ugh. A lot.
I guess yeah. I guess sometimes Chinese teams would get second place in Chinese contenders to like Koreans.
No, I don't know. Chinese can do its own thing. I love Chinese Overwatch, but boy, are they some choke artists.
Not as
And
much as my boys Americans. No, I can't. That was no.
That's
Actually,
fucked up,
I mean,
man.
I'm
That's
right.
fucked
Too far.
You know,
Too far.
Too
Too
soon.
far.
Actually,
back
not
it
too
up.
soon.
I'm glad
Alright.
there's other scapegoats for that same joke besides Philly Fusion at this point in time.
True.
Like,
That's
Or
true.
just Philly sports in general recently. But I'm getting off topic.
All right. Let's keep it. Let's
So-
keep it moving.
So this is interesting here. Vancouver Titans Blue versus Timeless Celestial. So for just to like really quick, like the one thing Timeless Celestial has added is Snozlar, who is very good on
Don't mess with the schnoz.
who is good at like Genji and Sojourn. They're
Genji, Sojourn, Tracer. I mean, Snozlar brings a lot of experience to the
a
table.
lot of
It's got a pretty
firepower.
wide DPS pool. Like, can fill a lot of the gaps that Timeless Celestial were looking for. I think can also be a pretty good leader for the team.
So-
there is a few players here that can really do that, and Snozlar brings a sort of glue element to a
Yeah.
team that maybe was looking for it. You know.
How do we think
So,
they
I'm very happy.
fare? So, Tiny, what's your first instinct in predicting Vancouver Titans Blue versus Timeless Celestial?
Blah. Honestly, there's just so many question marks in like I don't even know where to start. Like Kerchomp as the tank in this situation, how is that gonna fare against like somebody like Cat, who's been relatively solid on both of those heroes? I
Mhm.
mean, the DPS rotation that you've got going on for Vancouver Titans Blue, I mean, it looks pretty good to me. I mean, I think this is going to be one of those matches that's going to be close regardless.
Mhm.
But I mean, I think I have to give it to Vancouver Titans Blue with the backing that they have, not only in the coaching but the development that they've also made,
Yeah.
just as a team within these past few months.
I kind of also agree. Also, it's a May meta and Garchomp's 4 times weak to ice type move. So
Good one. Good one.
It's only the third time I've made that joke.
Yeah.
That is true, actually.
No, I've seen both of these teams like completely dominate each other, both like in scrims and in officials. I'd pred like 3-2 in favor of VT Blue.
Yeah. That's what I'm putting in here. Unless Dora, you have any objections?
I mean, slight objections. I think this comes down to the tank matchup. for sure. Do I think it's actually going either way? Like, no, I'm not. Look, I love you, Cat. I was not so high on it during LCQ. I think Cat was not the strong point for this team. And I think that was a fairly consistent thing that I saw out of the like multiple matches that I was watching them for. And I don't think that necessarily changed in the final day because it was like the Ramatra is definitely their specialty. The Junker Queen looked okay, but it never felt dominant on any of those picks. It never felt like it was a tank led matchup win for Vancouver Titans Blue. Timeless Celestial, I think, have a lot of question marks on them, like you guys were talking about, but there's too many places here for me that I see being potential success points for Timeless Celestial. Even though they are question marks, it's like if any one of them, comes up gravy, you're in, and I think with Schnoz on DPS and Azure there as well as the tank matchup being like, I don't even know if it's gonna be like a coin flip. I don't think anybody's gonna win it. I think it's just gonna go like even between them.
Yeah.
And if either of those Azure or Snozlar or even God forbid Bjorn coin flips lands on heads and you get like one of those pop off performances, I don't know if Vancouver Titans Blue are gonna be able to match it. If they all land tails, then yeah, you just get gapped by like Phone May, right?
Or what Sojourn? Like what's pretty solid on the Sojourn as well. Like
or Nickman Tracer. I mean, right? Tracer?
Yeah, I'm thinking. Too.
I think should we come to Tracer Dukes, I think Timeless Celestial are fine. Yeah. But
yeah.
Nevertheless, I think I haven't seen the same like star DPS play that I see potentially coming out of Timeless Celestial. And there are enough players that are capable of it that I'm like, one of those has to land on heads, right? And that's not to shade, McMahon Phone or what. Like, I know they have peaks, but that just didn't happen in LCQ. And having that recent history makes me predict that, it's literally a week later. Like, I suspect similar play.
Yeah.
Does that convince either of you to change your mind?
I don't think so.
No.
I can see the Vancouver Titans Blue angle. It's a close matchup either way. It's probably going to be...
Like, just pure off consistency, like, that's just where I'm sitting.
It's 3-2 either way,
like,
I think.
Let's Timeless Celestial.
It could be Timeless Celestial like 3-1
with mostly the same roster. Didn't crack top 8 in Major 3 with most of the same roster.
That's kind of the thing that worries me about Celestial is, again, like, they didn't make playoffs in the last Major. Like, and say what you will about VT Blue having to go through LCQ, but they did make playoffs in the last Major and actually beat Fable, even, I believe. I'd have to go back and look at the bracket again, but like, when it comes to like the actual tournament games, I feel like Vancouver Titans Blue usually just plays up a little bit more, and Timeless Celestial doesn't, unless adding Snozlar makes all that difference. And from what I've seen, Snozlar's been playing the May for this team, so adding them to, adding Snozlar to this role and then having them play like the hero that I feel is the most important in the current sandbox. I think that's got to count for something. So like, I still feel like 3T Vancouver Titans Blue, but I can be swayed to let this go the way of Celestial. And
let's go. Just to move us along slightly, let's put 3-2 Titans Blue here because it sets up a very funny lower bracket matchup. So first,
I want my brackets to be hilarious.
So
actually.
let's start eliminating some teams here. So losers bracket: Inarizaki x Tengoku versus Fable. This feels like a very even matchup, and I think we could go on. I think we could weigh these teams against each other for a very long time.
Really?
I disagree.
Really?
I think Inarazaki's got this.
Really? Wait, really?
Yeah, there's a lot in that.
Wait, what?
I thought Dor was gonna speak up first and talk about Inarizaki, but I also think like.
But like Aria,
we're saying goodbye to Fable here.
Yeah.
Like Aria's solid, but like Persona and Kuna like are really strong front line for Inarizaki.
Wow. All right.
And like,
what do I know?
I'm at the point with Fable where it's like I love Avery and I want to see Avery do big things. Like, I know they're capable of so much more, but I just don't know if at this stage the right team is around Avery to do that. Like, I just don't know if this is
Yeah.
going to play out in Fable's favor, to be honest. Like, I
That's
think
very-
I think Inarizaki are taking this one.
3
Yeah,
3
there's
1.
a chance if Fable win it, not to take the credit from them. If Fable do win it, I think it will have been a failure on Inarizaki's part to start that engine that I was talking about. Like, if you take that L that hard from Timeless Ethereal, you gotta like land on your feet in the lower bracket. I mean, it's first round lower bracket. Anything can happen, as per usual. And so for Inarizaki, it's just about like if you end up there recovering from that blow and finding that same form that you did in LCQ. But I think there's a good chance they do that. And good enough that I'd be confident predicting it against Fable.
So
How hard did Timeless Ethereal pull their ripcord? Is that Beyblade spinning? Like
3 3 1 3 0.
At least 3-1, maybe 3-2. I think it's a confident win, but I think it still could be close.
3.
I say
Uh,
3-1.
I say 3-1. Yeah, 3-1.
So now we get to the funny matchup. Kunoichi versus Timeless Celestial. Can I make the case for Kunoichi winning this game? Hear me
Please
out.
do.
Try.
I'd love
So,
to hear this.
okay.
You can try, yeah.
So here's the thing. I look. I don't know how much Timeless Celestial scrims or plays together, but this roster has not been together for that long, and it's kind of a mishmash of like, I don't want to say like the Timeless Ethereal the Timeless Ethereal cast-offs, but it's a lot of ex-Timeless Ethereal players. That's kind of how they got all these circuit points from like Orion and Snozzler, and like Santana, who were on Timeless Ethereal earlier in the year. And I don't know if a team
Are you gonna say
with...
they're washed up too? Is that
No.
Are you gonna curse them?
We got a gift for this one?
No. That's not the point I'm making. No.
Okay, okay.
My argument, and this is like totally vibes based, is just that I could see a team that kind of is maybe might have less synergy, kind of, stepping on a rake into Kunoichi's comps. And just kind of like not really knowing how to adjust, or not really adjusting well.
People are calling Kunoichi the rake of calling all heroes, yeah.
Well, I'm just imagining like the like Sideshow
their new
Bob
mascot.
stepping on a rake.
Yeah.
I don't know if that you find that argument convincing, but I also weirdly I kind of rate Kunoichi's backline more, even with the like kind of inflexibility of it.
You don't know Gunther.
Yeah.
I don't think Gunther's on.
Gunther will fuck you up, man.
Isn't it Orion and KQA?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's what they're playing right now.
I still think it's Timeless Celestial because I don't think that it's going to work again for Kunoichi now that we've had like 1 to 2 weeks for everybody to like go back and watch the VODs and be like, okay, this is what they're playing. We have time to cook and like prep for this. Like I think both VT Blue and Inarizaki, like they kind of got caught off guard by it, right? Because they're an LCQ, they're prepping for this like Ramatra Junker Queen meta, and suddenly here's a Wrecking Ball and a Pharmacy coming at you. I don't know if that's going to work again, and I think Timeless Celestial have the talent to adequately deal with that. Kunoichi could take maps, sure, but like that would be more because Timeless Celestial would be like uncoordinated rather than
that's
rather
my
than, like,
argument
Kunoichi
is
besting them.
basically like uncoordination plus SK just out mechanicking everybody.
I think
Kunoichi,
Celestial gets it together in the third act there.
Yeah, like Kunoichi, yes, they have like their comp thrives at pulling at weaknesses of other teams in the synergy department, but like Timeless Celestial, they're still an incredibly talented squad, and like it just doesn't make sense. I want Kunoichi to succeed, but they're just, as you guys mentioned before,
Think about how
there
good
has
it would
been
be
too
for
much
the
time.
viewership.
That would be awesome. I love to see Kunoichi go on fun. I want them to prove us wrong, but I cannot, in the right mind, with the amount of time between the LCQ and champs, say that they can pull that same look out and expect to find the same success here.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of like logical, coherent sense. I just kind of thought it'd be funny if they won. Like
It would be amazing.
It'd be fun.
I don't think Ben's that crazy. I don't think Ben's
Thank
that
you.
crazy right now. I actually think the addition of Snozzler to this roster is what tips the scale for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, what I was talking about, like anytime you see a team looking to upset meta, to upset teams that are used to running one thing or maybe even on coordination, what allows you to get over that hump is having experienced players more than almost anything. And Snozar just adds another one of those to this roster that's like already a roster of like fairly experienced players amongst them and a big roster at that. Again, you've got subs in like almost every role. Uh I think that's what tips it for me. But again, I don't think it's that out there to suspect Kunoichi doing some damage. And on the right day, with the correct weather, humidity, and day of the week,
Alignment of the
maybe
planets.
I can like see a chance there for Kunoichi as well if they come in with like a renovated version of the composition that they were running and they want to maybe mix something in depending on the map and they're able to get more practice on that.
Mhm.
I think they could come with some weapons, and it being day one, it being first round lower bracket. I don't know if I'm convinced they're going to 3-2. This is like a three for me. It's like a 3-1, 3-2 for Timeless Celestial with an
Yeah.
asterisk of like a very real possibility of Kunoichi doing the thing.
Yeah.
If Coach
And
Kobe checks the
don't
tarot
just say
cards
that because
beforehand,
CSD's viewers were very nice and came to my chat.
I think if Coach Kobe like checks the tarot cards beforehand and does a little bit of cookery, there's a chance that like Kunoichi takes it. But like, I'm still with Dor here, and like
Come on.
the addition of
Nah,
Snozlar tips it in favor of
Yeah.
Celestial. Like,
yeah. That makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, especially
I'd
on the
call
DPS line when you're dealing with something like a Far Mercy, like Snozlar is very well suited for filling that role of like playing DPS, not dying, and dealing with like very specific focus on like squishies and such.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're gonna be in a good spot.
Yeah.
And same goes for the rest of their DPS line. Like it's not people that are running it down into weird comps.
Mhm. So moving up to the winner semis. Man, this gets hard. So Timeless Ethereal versus Michael Wave.
I'm
Like,
sorry.
I don't think
Mari has
it's
lots. Microwave looks sick.
yeah.
Timeless Ethereal is
yeah.
We
taking that.
thinking this feels like it could be a 3-0, honestly. Not that
I'll give
Michael Wave
Microwave
is
a
like
map if they
bad,
want it.
Yeah.
but I just I feel like
I also give Michael Wave a map, but like
Mhm.
Bun Mei versus Zoe Genji, if she's able to play Genji, is like Bun Mei.
Yeah. Now we have WISP Embers versus Vancouver Titans Blue. I feel like this is just
So this is a tank gap, is what they
This
call it.
is
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say I feel like Wisp just out mechanics on.
I think this is not
Like
just a
every
tank
role.
gap though.
It's
like
it's just
probably
like
a
a
win in every role, but
yeah.
like I said, in particular, I think I want to see cat succeed because I love me some cat, but
Captain fourth.
yeah, and like we've seen cat succeed, but this is a very difficult environment to succeed in.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now I don't know whether winners finals or the next losers bracket matches come next in the actual broadcast order, but we'll go down to the losers bracket again for VT Blue versus Inarizaki x Tengoku. These teams played in LCQ. Titans Blue won it 3-2 in very dramatic fashion. Do we think the same thing happens again?
Or what do you think on this one? Because I want to. You're like the big Inarizaki fan here, so I want to.
Let's hear it.
I mean, realistically, it's probably like 3-1 Vancouver Titans Blue. And Arizaki's one of those teams, like the more experience you get playing against them, the better you're gonna do. Because they'll catch you off guard with the pace the first time. The second time there needs some refinement. I think this actually comes down to like what they're able to do in the time between LCQ and champs, but I think in that regard, VT Blue just have more resources available to them to actually get that done. At least in terms of organizational optimization, right? So I suspect that will pay off, and their already pretty meta reliant run will continue to kind of sharpen itself against an Inarizaki that I hope can find some avenues of improvement in the break, but I struggle to see the avenues of improvement. Like they placed where they did with Kuna and Persona playing out of their minds, with Vanguard playing the best Junker Queen in LCQ, and like they got there, but it still resulted in the losses where it did, and if the stars don't align again, and the stars aligned and it was close, I see VT Blue probably taking it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll agree.
Yeah.
Leading up to LCQ, VT Blue was the team that I was tracking the most because I pegged them as like the favorite to win the whole thing for LCQ, and like I've shifted more towards some of the champs teams that I haven't gotten the chance to put the magnifying glass under quite yet. So behind my back, VT Blue might have cooked something up, or they might have hit some big revelations. Same with Inarizaki. But like I think in terms of like team synergy and being able to adapt over time to some of these problems, like it takes them a while. But for how many times these two teams have crossed paths, I think VT Blue are probably in the advantage to take it.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's the matter of they've played them more than once. They know the tricks now, and once that element of surprise is gone, I mean, VTB should be able to start that off strong
Yeah.
and finish it.
I think no matter how it goes, it's gonna be an entertaining match, though.
Oh,
Again,
yeah,
anything with
absolutely,
Inarizaki in it's just gonna be fun watch.
So next up, Microwave versus Timeless Celestial.
Okay, see, this is like the extreme version of the Kunoichi question, and I think this
Yeah.
is where the camel's back breaks.
I feel like the camel's back shatters.
Hourglass shaped camel.
Like I feel like this is I feel like this is one of those sort of Microwave puts their foot down kind of just on like in the way that one puts one's foot on like somebody's neck and just crushes it kind of way. Just
I feel like I'm inclined to give Timeless Celestial a map. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm just high on Snozlar. I love
which is valid, yeah.
But
yeah.
But I do feel inclined to give them one. Also, like Microwave's general, I don't want to call it like that again. I think being a team that causes a lot of chaos does not mean you're disorganized, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're inconsistent. But would I call Microwave the most consistent team that we see in CAH? Maybe not. So I think there's definitely a map in there for Timeless Celestial, at least off the back of that. But it's 3-0 or 3-1 for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Same
3-1?
thing. And again, like Microwave is cooking to try and solve the Zoe problem. So it's like
the Zoe problem.
That creates a room for like teams like Timeless Celestial to snap some maps up. So like yeah, I'd give them one or two.
Yeah. So okay, Timeless Ethereal versus WISP Embers. Is this the throat on neck match? Sort of Timeless asserting complete dominance?
This is just the match.
This is the match.
Well, when this match happened in Major 3, wasn't it like kind of a stomp?
Yeah, but WISP Embers had really just. Oh, I guess they're also still doing the same thing effectively. Of like, okay, here we are. We're here to like. We gotta
surely
get
this
it together
time
pretty quick.
We'll
yeah, but I mean, now they've added more people to the roster again, and like I think it's the integrations that WISP Embers are trying to make are maybe more significant than those of Timeless Ethereal, where it's just like I think X10's a plug and play player.
Yeah.
For the most part.
They also just won a tournament with X10.
Yeah.
Which we didn't mention, but there was that, I forget what it was called, like the Super Gamer Girl something.
The Super Bowl. Yeah.
What? But Timeless like dominated that, right?
Pretty much, yeah. That was with X10, and yeah, like Hitscan is like for the most part just kind of like a plug and play role. Like as long as you have a support line that can set them up and like guarantee
swapping Kindred is a lot more akin to like open heart surgery. It's doable, and Kindred is a very, very good heart, but like it might be a matchup you need to revisit the second time around after you've like you take a hit, you're like, okay, that's what they got. How can we respond?
So
I don't think it's a matchup that like a second round isn't closer. I think it will be closer a second time around, and I think it probably will happen a second time around.
3-0 Timeless.
And that's one that I'm
Can we be so bold?
What's that?
I said 3-0 Timeless. Are we that bold?
No. There's
no.
I mean,
no?
All it takes is like I guess WISP probably went on like almost every Flashpoint map just from Kindred's JQ alone, right? So like,
that's true.
Whether you base it off of like the Junker Queen or what, there's definitely maps in here for WISP. Do I think if you go like map for map, bar for bar of like, okay, we pick our map, we win it. You pick your map, you win it. unfortunately, Timeless Ethereal are still the higher seeded team, so even that goes 3-2 to them.
Yeah.
But I want to say it's gonna be a 3-2 for Timeless Ethereal, but like a convincing 3-2, and then I hope they can get back together and do another 3-2 that's like less convincing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can get behind that. It's like the integration of Kindred and even Senna to a degree. When you're like, Senna comes from these crazy chaotic teams that WISP Embers, I mean, they're trying to play it a little bit more like by the book, I guess you could say. So, and even integrating that piece of it against X10, filling X10 shoes, I mean, that's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
Got a lot to prove. If she does it, it'll be huge.
I believe
but it's
it.
like
These
can do
teams
it.
are stacked. I mean, there's no way around that. And also our losers semis is also pretty stacked. We got VT Blue versus Michael Wave.
it's Michael Wave 3-0.
Yeah, I don't.
You really think
That's
3-0?
Yeah, I think 3-0.
Who is it? Microwave versus who?
Vancouver
Blue.
Titans Blue.
VT Blue.
I can't see. Again, I hate like beating up on Cat every time we bring up VT Blue because I think Cat's a great player, but like Mari on the other end is like
you're not competing with that.
A different beast in terms of output in the tank role and opportunity creation that I don't think VT Blue are going to be able to kind of match.
That's a fair take. Yeah. And we got 2 more matches left. I'm not trying to rush us. I'm just, I want to be mindful of everybody's time, and it's also so late here. But WISP Embers, Michael Wave. Based on what we were saying before, I'm assuming you all think WISP Embers takes this. Although I do think there's a world in which Michael Wave can win this match. I think it's pretty close, but because Michael Wave also has a very strong
close,
backline.
just so I can watch HK versus Zoe Genji.
Yeah.
Because
that would be awesome.
I want to see Anian versus AJMR, the BAP duel.
It's gonna be a big that's gonna be a good game, like no matter what. Like there's always gonna be the question of like
myself. I think WISP Embers take it pretty handily, to be honest. But there's some really fun 1v1s in there, you know. I think WISP Embers are just they bring so much to the table. It's really hard to. They have so many potential solutions to the microwave puzzle within their roster that I can't see it being that much of a problem, or at the very least one that can't be solved in a map or two, you know?
Tiny, what do you think score-wise for this?
Score-wise, I'd give them a map. I think that WISP Embers overall, they're just the better, well-rounded team in several ways. Michael Wave have the potential to push it, as Dora said. Fun chips. We get to see some crazy Genji action, but the Kindred versus Mari is going to be amazing too. But especially, I think where the support line is, that's where I have to kind of draw it. WISP Embers just have a lot more of that star power in the back line, and not to mention the performances as a team have been just solid in comparison to Michael Wave. I feel bad giving them more than a map on that.
Scarlet AJMR is a really strong backline.
They are,
but Anian,
does Wicca have the use of both of her arms for this tournament?
She does. Yes, she's mostly healed from her unfortunate Hydron collision.
Large Hydron Collider.
Yep. Yep. There we go. We got it.
I'm so proud of myself for that one.
I barely know her.
That was a science joke, and you made it dirty. How dare you?
Hydron barely knew Wicca, and he snapped her arm.
It's like that you took everything from me.
Sounds like Wicca lost.
Who you are.
Yeah, Wicca lost. Yeah, she lost that one. But no, she has use of both of her arms, and she's been playing pretty strongly. But I feel like I just feel like in terms of
on a Wednesday, does it?
No, it's Friday, Saturday,
we're good.
Sunday.
Yeah, sorry, Wicca.
Yeah,
it is not Wicca Wednesday.
Wicca and Overwatch League finals on a Wednesday, bro.
Wicca Wednesdays and Wicca weekends are complete opposite ends of the spectrum. But yeah, like I like Anion is just like kind of goated, and Poryu was like another pleasant surprise. Like
Yeah.
I just kind of want to illustrate like the backlines aren't like leagues apart. They're close, but like you still kind of give the edge to Embers there. Like
Yeah. I mean, like, Onion has Owl Scrim experience. Like,
yeah.
you know.
Well, so does Wicca on Wednesdays only, but like 1/7 of the same Owl experience.
Okay. Timeless Ethereal, WISP Embers, Grand Finals, two just two orgs, man. Like, shout out Timeless and WISP, just like for everything that, because they do a lot for our little game. But if you can't tell, I'm so tired. But more importantly,
One more game to get through.
More
it's only the most
importantly-
important one.
yeah, and it's a rematch. Timeless Ethereal, WISP Embers. Do we think this goes like the same way, or will Kindred and Senna and Kof like
I'm gonna chuck out
finally
the thing we haven't really talked about is that
finally
like
do the thing?
Timeless's map 5 clutch percentage is stupid high. They win almost every single map 5 they have ever gone to in recent time, and I don't expect that to stop. If this gets close, I think they are the team that can hold it together far more. They're so good under pressure, and I think that will be at the end of the day. Should it get close, I think that will kick in 100% of the time for them.
Every Timeless team is like that, I guess. It's just in the contract. You have to be clutch.
I mean, it's coordination, it's experience from the roster, it's experience in the individual players. They've all been here. A lot of them, you're talking about like top contenders, top Overwatch League experience, like incredible players. And so, yeah, they have all that you need to take home those close games. And Wisp definitely have a fair bit of that, but not to the scale that Timeless Ethereal do. And again, that Calling All Heroes history specifically of map 5s and whatever it might go to, you have to give them a strong edge for that reason.
Do we think this is
if it even
5?
goes to a map 5?
That's what I was gonna go with.
Like, do you think this is?
I think I want it to, because it's a grand finals.
I'm manifesting it for the end of our Calling All Heroes year. So
honestly,
I'll say it goes. Or well, I guess it's 7, isn't it?
Is it 7?
Is this,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay,
If it's so start GG says just like everything's like best of 5, but
yeah, I feel like
best of 7 finals.
I feel like
please.
most of them
Yeah.
have been.
We deserve
Haven't
it.
all the finals all been best of 5s, right?
Yeah, but I like, I'm gonna get on the phone with Janghua and be like, last minute change, make the grand finals a best of 7, because that's champs.
Weirdly,
but, like,
I feel like if this is a best of 7, I actually think it would be like a 4-2. But
probably. I just want like I just want to manifest like the best game possible for the grand finals, because
Exactly.
like
you know what?
I actually want to happen, if it's first to 5, I want Embers to win 3-2, because I think that would be like
that would be.
I think that would be a
fun.
great story. I think that would be a lot of fun.
It would be an
to
insane
have, like,
choke, but no, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But
but I don't think that's what's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
Because like again, at just about every role, and especially at the May, like HK has always been a step behind
Buns May. It really does always come back to Buns May, doesn't it?
Whenever May is like as strong in the sandbox, it absolutely does. So like, it would be a pretty rough choke if Timeless didn't end up taking it.
Tiny Door, do we have any objections?
Wouldn't it be kind of funny though?
It'd be funny. It'd be hilarious.
It would be awesome.
Everything in the chat. Oh man, it's a tough one to see, and I have so much love for Timeless and Wisp. Is like all the individual players, the orgs I know extremely well. Like there's a lot of heart going into it from pretty much every angle. So you're sad to see any team take second, but someone's got to do it, you know.
This let's hope for a giga banger. Are we satisfied with Timeless 3-2, or
I'm cool with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Timeless 4-3. Man,
You know what?
manifesting 7 maps.
Sure.
I
I'll-
would also like to. I want to get everyone's like gut check on like what's the outside chance Timeless pulls off a perfect bracket to finish it off.
I think it's
It's
decently
non-zero.
possible.
It's non-zero.
They've done it
It's
before.
not over
They have a
50%.
tendency to just like they just sort of put their foot down and like just kind of dominate.
I just wanted to throw it out there because like I see like a there's some like 10-15% chance of it happening,
Yeah.
and if it does, I just want it to be known that I said it first
Oh, okay.
because
It's
it
happened
would be
before.
so sick.
Yeah,
It would
just
be
be like-
really cool.
Amazing.
I can put up with a lame bracket if we get that storyline.
But here's the thing, though. Like, would it be that? Like, I feel like it's almost cooler. Like, if Timeless have won 5 out of the 6 events to get to this point, and then proceed to win the grand finals, like, isn't that?
Well,
I guess
it's
not as cool as
specifically
them
hype if they
losing
go to
it, that would
7 or
hurt.
perfect bracket it, but
Yeah.
It'd be
I
funny
say
if
perfect
they-
bracket, then go to 7. That's what I want to say.
Yeah.
We're just writing this. Bailey, Jaguar, are y'all listening? Just write this down, okay?
sorry, Bailey's too busy managing the Overwatch Championship Series.
True.
Yep.
Sorry,
goat.
Champions Series, not Championship Series.
Oh, excuse me.
That's gonna be a
I think-
hard adjustment for a lot of
It
people, by
is.
the way. Is like championship is like when you put the S at the end of it, that's what your
Yeah.
mouth just wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
But that is our bracket prediction. Timeless Ethereal competing the almost perfect year, and honestly, like half their players were on that NYXL Academy team that won like minor one. So like
Yeah.
the fact that they also like they won all these championships and also like kind of with different-ish rosters. Like they were continually iterating, like trying to find ways to improve their team. Like it's
Yeah,
Timeless Ethereal
I
is
mean,
like
the
a-
difference is clear in terms of like organization. They're like head and shoulders above virtually everybody else. Wisp has like a lot of good support. Same thing goes for a lot of these championship teams. But if you like, I see the people that go in and out of the server. I know what goes on with their scrims. Like I know a lot of the advice they're getting. They have like so many people helping out with this project, and a lot of feedback loops that are not just the team.
Yeah.
That they've had so many ways and different people that have helped them improve. So I think that like that is what makes the difference for Timeless. Yes, the roster is all stars, but organizationally, those are all stars that are extremely well enabled. So
Mhm.
it's good to see. It's awesome.
Like Timeless does it at like literally every level of composition in NA right now. Like Flash Ops, Contenders, Calling All Heroes, like they've always been like at or towards the top, and it's like that's not changing. Like no matter what, they're going to be towards the top here in Calling All Heroes. But like realistically speaking, like the pattern of dominance and the way the meta currently is, and the fact that it's playing into some of their strengths that they've cultivated over, again, iterating and reading the room, seeing what they need. Like what's crazy to me is like in minor 3 they had that perfect bracket, that whole perfect stage where they didn't drop a map, and that was with Snozzler playing Sojourn. And it's like, as good as Snozzler was, they're like, we can still do better.
Yeah.
We'll
Is
give me
what
both
I'm hearing?
Wisps
Timeless
and X10.
Celestial perfect bracket with Schnozzlar?
Yeah, definitely.
It's actually
Timeless,
just
yeah.
a Snozzlar perfect bracket. Snozzlar.
Imagine if we get a
alone is
Timeless
riding this whole
versus
thing out.
Timeless finals. That
That'll be
I mean,
something.
it's not impossible actually.
And if that happens, like I'm like, okay, all right, Janghwa's getting some ramen money. Like, come on.
ramen
Yeah.
money.
That's
Yeah. Well, I know I am excited for this tournament. Is there anything the three of you would like to plug before we end the video?
No, I love all these teams. I will be co-streaming if I am not casting it. So twitch.tv/door_casts if you want a slightly more deranged version of what is probably a pretty solid broadcast.
With or without the fish observers?
I think I can pull enough strings to get fish observing and get myself into lobbies for these, but we'll see.
I want fish observing. I want uwu player names.
Marshmallows.
I
want mommy and daddy tanks. I want
Cassie,
everything.
what would one have to do to get you to do uwu casting on the main broadcast?
I don't think you have to pay for that.
I was
think that
gonna
just
say
happens.
you'd probably do it for free.
Yeah.
Honestly, like if I just didn't get enough sleep the night before, that might just happen.
Just happen naturally?
Like-
It's like, this was a direct request from the players?
CeeBee actually normally talks like that. CeeBee pulls herself together to like do this normal thing, you know?
Yeah, I'm going back to the uwu voice as soon as we like shut this off. I close the Zoom call and I go like about my day.
You like there's like a big exhale and then like
Yep. Thank God. I can finally go back to being myself.
To being myself. Nah, I can't do the voice.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tiny, Cassie, anything to add?
Come watch the broadcast. Come watch Calling All. That's the only thing I really have to plug is Calling All Heroes. That's the best, the best Overwatch competition going on right now. So come support the scene.
Oh, you know what I'm gonna have for this? You know what's gonna be ready? I have been working on Chat Co-caster, so I can have Chat Co-cast for me. That is
with
just
like
about done.
Text to speech
cooking in the
or like.
Yeah, they'll submit things to say in the Colorcaster segments. Well, after I play by play.
That's
we'll see how that goes.
Huh. That's pretty cool, actually. I'm excited for that.
It's gonna be awful. But
I won't be.
in the best
job.
kind of way, in the way you expect from a Dora stream. You know, I bring some like cooped up thing that I programmed over the course of a day, and you guys have fun with it for like a couple hours, and then we call it there. You know.
I won't be in your chat to like really take advantage of that. I don't think, but I know Liz will be. So like, it'll be fun.
Liz is gonna have a field day with that. It'll be great. It'll be great.
Just
all right.
Remind me to specifically block Liz's messages.
If anyone pulls out Hanzo, I cannot wait to see what she does with the Chat Co-cast. Like, please
stop. All right.
Liz in this house.
That should be good fun.
We have gone so much longer than I thought, but I hope the people enjoy the amazing brains that three of y'all.
I'm sorry you had to listen to me for this long, guys.
No, this was great. Thank you all so much for being on with me. Support Calling All Heroes. Let's get APAC and EMEA Calling All Heroes next year. If whoever runs things is listening to this, that's my humble request. That'd be pretty fun. But yeah. Thank y'all. You can follow us at CryXGG. I'll put everybody's Twitter or like Twitch and stuff in the video description of this on YouTube. And we'll see y'all again soon.